In this lecture, we're going to add a box collider to help us detect the player's presence. The goal is to open the treasure chest when the player interacts with the game object. However, the treasure chest may only be opened when the player is close enough to open it. Previously, we used a custom solution for detecting the player's location. Coding a custom solution is perfectly fine. I want to show you an alternative solution using Unity's physics engine. Unity has a component for helping us detect objects. Let's give it a try. In Unity, enter prefab edit mode for the treasure chest prefab. Next, on the parent game object, add a component called box collider. Do not add the 2D version of this component. As you can imagine, the 2D component is for 2D games. The non-2D version is for 3D games. The box collider component is a part of Unity's physics engine. It'll help us detect game objects that collide with the current game object. If we look at the scene, a green outline has been added. It may be confusing because the nav mesh obstacle component also adds a green outline. Unfortunately, Unity doesn't provide a simple way of modifying the colors for the collider. Let's ignore it for the time being. This outline will be invisible to the player. The purpose of this outline is to help us adjust the collision zone of the game object. If a game object enters this zone, Unity will notify us of this event. The box collider component can be configured further. Let's turn on the is trigger option. The description says the following on this option. If enabled, this collider is used for triggering events and is ignored by the physics engine. Our game doesn't use physics for moving objects around the scene. We don't need to use this component in physics-only games. It can be used outside Unity's physics engine to help us detect game objects. By enabling this option, physics will be ignored, but we still benefit from events emitted by the component. If the player walks within the bounds of the collider, the event will get triggered. Let's make the box larger by modifying the Y field to 0.5. Next, set the scale to 2 on all sides. After making those changes, we can start handling detection. Let's create a class for handling the event. In the Assets/Scripts folder, create a new folder called Quests. Opening treasure is related to the quest system of our game. Creating a directory dedicated to the quest system will keep our project organized. Let's create a new C# file called treasure chest. Next, open this file with Visual Studio Code. Let's clean the file by removing the system namespaces and removing the start and update methods. Afterward, wrap the class with a namespace called rpg.quest. We're introducing a new namespace for a quest system called Quest. We'll be using it for the rest of this course for anything related to the quests in our game. Within the class, define a method called onTriggerEnter. The name of the method is significant. Unity creates an event for detecting a collision with the box collider. If a game enters the collider, the event will run this method. Previously, we had to manually register the method with the event. Luckily, the collider component has been programmed to search for this specific method from any components attached to the same object. As long as a component defines this method, it'll be executed by the box collider component. There is one caveat. We cannot use any name. The name must be specifically called onTriggerEnter. The name is case sensitive. This method runs when a collision has been detected. Let's add a message to the console with the print method. Write the following message: player detected. The class is ready. The final step is to add this class as a component to the treasure chest component. Switch over to Unity. Add the treasure chest component to the parent object. Lastly, let's play our game. If we were to get close to the treasure chest, nothing would happen. We can look in the console for a message. Unfortunately, nothing appears. But why? The reason has to do with the player. It's not properly set up to be detected. In the next lecture, let's try fixing this issue by updating the player.